everybody, and welcome back to the Cupcake Jemma channel with me, Sally, and I am here at the Crumbs and Doilies kitchen in London. And today I'm actually going to show you a cake decorating technique because we've been doing a lot of baking together and it's been a little while since we've done any kind of buttercream technique. So I was looking through Gemma's channel the other day to see if there's anything that we've missed along the way, and there is, and that is how to ombre a cake going from one colour all the way through to another, like this beautiful little guy over here. And it's really, really simple, and I can't quite believe we've not shown you how to do this yet. So that is today's video. So what we're going to need to do first is have a cake that is filled and crumb coated. Now, we've done quite a lot of kind of Tuesday tip videos a few years ago on loads of detail on how to get really nice sharp edges, straight sides, which is going to make it a lot easier to get a beautiful finish on your cake. So I'll put loads of links in the description box below. So I've got my cake here, which has got 4 layers, and I've already trimmed them and leveled them so that they're nice and even to begin with. And then I've got some vanilla buttercream here. Of course, you can use whatever flavor buttercream and cake you like. I'll also put some links in the description box for some different flavors for you guys. Now, before you start, you want to make sure that your buttercream is really, really soft, and give it a good stir to get rid of any air bubbles. If it's feeling a bit stiff, then you might want to warm it up in the microwave just for a couple of seconds, or you could add a bit of milk just to soften it, because if it's too stiff, it's going to pull away all your crumbs in your cake. So once you've given it a good whip, I'm going to grab a small piece here, and I'm icing it onto this little marble board, so I'm just going to put a bit of icing in the middle, and that is going to stick our first layer of sponge down. And now, before we push it down, we're just going to make sure it's in the middle of the board, so you can gently shift it from side to side, and then when you're happy, a little push down. And now we can start filling it. So grab your buttercream back, and we're going to put a nice big blob in the middle of the sponge, like this. Now, you want to start with a lot rather than putting on a little bit at a time, because you'll find then you're pulling away at the crumbs, whereas if you've got a nice big blob like this, what we're going to do is, using the offset palette knife, we're going to push into the icing towards the edge of the cake. And then we just want to get this nice and even, so using your palette knife, keep it nice and flat, spin the turntable, and you'll see that it's leveling out the icing for you. And don't worry too much about the bits that are splurging out the edge, because we're going to crumb coat this, so we'll use those to do that. So now we just need to keep going until we get to the top of our cake. So grab your next layer of sponge, you want to gently place it on top. As you go, just make sure it is on top of the other one, and then we can shift it about. Make sure that you're happy that it is as straight as possible. We'll give it a little push, and then we just keep on going. Now, as you can see, I flipped my top layer over, and that is purely to make it a lot easier for us to do the crumb coat, because there's less crumbs on the top here, so it's going to be easier. So now we can start doing that crumb coat, and I'm switching to this large straight palette knife. I find it a lot easier to get loads of icing on at once. So I'm going to grab some more buttercream, and I'm going to work on the sides first. I'm kind of working at this angle here, but trust me, this is the easiest way to do it, and I'm going to push the icing back and pull it forward. And as you can see, I'm putting quite a lot of icing on the sides, and that's so that when we come to smooth it out, we're smoothing icing and not pulling off crumbs. So once you've got it all around the edges, we can move on to the top. Don't worry about smoothing this out yet. We're going to do it all at the same time. So another blob in the middle. And we'll just smooth that just like we were when we were filling it, taking it right to the edges of the cake. And now it is time to smooth this out using our trusty cake smoother. best tool you can get for cake decorating. And instead of doing it that side, I'm going to do it this side. I'm holding it nice and vertical against the side of the cake and very lightly applying a little bit of pressure whilst turning the cake on the turntable. And once you're happy with the sides, we'll move on to the top because we just need to deal with this little bit of icing that's now poking upwards. So using your cake smoother, we're going to go over to this corner here and we're going to cut it into the middle. And it's really important to keep your cake smoother clean the whole time you're doing this. So once you've scraped a bit of icing off, just clean it off with some paper towel so that you're not putting any excess back on. And I'm pretty happy with that. It's looking nice and straight. It's got some sharp edges. So now we need to set this in the fridge for about half an hour. You can leave it in for longer. We just want to make sure that you can touch it and apply some pressure and it's not going to smush the icing. Okay, so before we get the cake out of the fridge, we're going to get our colours ready. Now I'm going to start with my top colour and my bottom colour, and then I'll show you what we're going to do for the middle ones. So I'm going to go from a lovely pink at the top down to an orange. So I'm going to start by mixing those up. As usual, I'm going to use these paste colours. They are the best colours to use in kind of all food, really, whether that's making buttercream or sponges or anything, putting it in cookies, because you don't need to add too much of it. It's not going to affect the consistency of your batter or your icing, whatever it is. So I'm using a toothpick just to pick up a little blob like this, and I'm going to wiggle it in the icing, and then we'll mix it through. So once you've got your top and bottom colours, what we need to do is make two more that are in between. So I'm going to put that one there, and we want to get from pink to orange. So I'm going to put a larger blob orange into this bowl and a smaller blob into this one. And then I'm going to do the opposite with the pink. So a larger one in there and a smaller one in there, and then we're going to mix these together. And now you can see we've got four colours, each one fading a little bit more into the next. So now we need to go and get my cake, and then we can get the icing on. Okay, so you can see when I push this cake, it doesn't really go anywhere. It's a nice hard shell on it, which is exactly how we want it for our crumb coat. So now we're going to start at the bottom and we're going to work our way up. And for all of this, I'm going to be using the little offset palette knife. So I'm going to grab my bottom colour, which is orange. Obviously, just always make sure that it is nice and smooth. Get rid of any air bubbles before you start, because we need to kind of get this on pretty quickly because this icing is cold, so it's going to start setting all the way. So I'm going to grab some buttercream on my palette knife like this, and I'm going to swipe it along the bottom. And once you've got all the way around with your first colour, we're just going to very gently smooth it out. And it is going to have a bit of a raggedy edge on the top, but that is absolutely fine because these are all going to be ombre one into the other, so we don't want them to be nice sharp lines. So once you've smoothed that one out, we'll get on with applying the next colour. So as I'm smoothing my second colour, I'm just very gently smudging it with the one underneath, and you'll get the full effect once we smooth this all out. So then we're just going to do the next colour and then the top one. So So when I do my top colour, I'm actually going to put the icing on the top of the cake, and I'm going to start by getting it all the way to the edges, as we were doing when we were filling our cake. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to use these bits that have kind of fallen over the edge to be the sides. And now it's time to smooth it all out and see the ombre effect. So using our cake scraper again, the same position as we were doing with the crumb coat, we're going to gently spin our cake and reveal the magic. And just keep going around your cake very, very gently. You don't want to scrape any icing off. We're simply just smoothing it. And just like before, scraping off any excess into a bowl and then wiping your smoother so it's lovely and clean. And just keep going around the edges. And then when you're happy with the edge, we're going to do the same thing with the top, just cutting in those corners that are now poking upwards. And there we have it, there is an ombre cake. But I'm just going to finish this off using up my leftover bits of icing. I'm going to bung them all together, pop them in a piping bag, and I've got some sprinkles in the same colour scheme as well. And there we go, the beautiful ombre cake, ombreing all the way through orange to pink, and it's seamless and it's beautiful, and you can do this with any color that you want to. Last year we actually made a wedding cake. It was 5 tiers, and 2 of the tiers had an ombre going all the way through the rainbow, and it was absolutely beautiful. And we even made a behind the scenes video for that, so I'll put a link in the description box below if you want to go and have a look, just because it's a really lovely video. And we'll be back next Thursday with a recipe for you guys. We're going back to recipes, don't worry, and it's something delicious, something for breakfast. It might be waffles, which I adore, and I can't wait to share that one with you guys. In the meantime, head over to CupcakeJemma.com to get all your cake decorating tools, as well as food coloring, sprinkles, we've got turntables, we've got the whole lot to make sure that you have the perfect cakes and bakes. So we'll see you next week. Bye!